You've been aging bad. You know that?
We were just actually talking about that yesterday.
See, Slick Daddy here, he don't ever look old. He always
He just
clean him up.
Well, I got you, man.
Huh? What's up, Jeff?
Doing well, Coach. How are you?
How are we on this? Yeah, I do. Yeah, I'm extremely excited about this season. Very happy with the summer we've had with our kids. I think they worked very hard, did some really good things. Again, coming from spring through summer, as far as the football part of the things that are going on, I really like the chemistry of this football team. There's a really tight dynamic between those guys, and excited to see them. And I think it's from the exuberance of youth and talent and guys trying to be the next guy up and trying to take the next position and battling but have done it in a very cohesive way, which sometimes doesn't always happen. You know what I mean? You have guys battling. It's been a very, in reports from our strength and conditioning guys that the guys have excelled very well and been a lot of camaraderie, a lot of excitement, and looking forward to it. Like I said, again, look forward to it about as much as any season I have in the past, because of I think you have so many young, talented players and watching them grow and where they keep taking the steps and and what they're becoming, and look forward to the season. And we've keep implementing all the programs in which we have and trying to keep developing our guys and be ready, because it's going to be here quick. August 5th, we're going to kick it off, and it's like this summer. I think the summers go faster and faster and faster each year. I mean, they seem to fly by. So, but excited, and hopefully have another great season. Questions?
You and President Dasher released a few statements. What have the last few weeks been like with the team?
Just addressing issues and problems, and disappointed that we had an instance, and with what goes on. So, but you have to continue to educate your kids. You have to continue to educate them, and we've had a very extensive program in all the different phases of. We go over 40 days a year of bringing in character building people, developmental conditioning. Issues with drugs, alcohol, opposite sex, domestic violence. We've done those things, and we've done them from the very first day I've ever been there. And we don't publicize them a lot, but just like now, the situation, just like a game plan. You have a game plan, you do things, and as people adjust or different problems occur, you add to your game plan. So we're stepping up our process now with domestic violence and different programs in which we have to try to keep educating our kids and educating them not just on that, but how to see situations coming, how to handle situations when they're there, how to get them, how to avoid those situations when they're there, and how to act and what to do, and so they don't make mistakes. And it's a shame that we had the instance we had, but the young man was a tremendous guy. Never been in trouble in his life, but he made a bad choice. And hopefully, it was funny the day and the week that he was there, we had special elite force guys in from. There's a lot of groups of people that have a lot of these same issues we have. We bring in Navy SEAL people. We bring in other people, that all have the same issues of dealing with it all across the country. And that week we had a guy in there about learning to make choices. We had one of our Navy SEAL leaders in teaching guys how to make choices, not just on the field, but off the field, how to carry yourself, how you conduct yourself, and unfortunately made a bad choice. So we'll continue to educate, and hopefully the rest of the guys will get the message.
How many things are actually being changed or implemented? Because talking to Jalen, he said, like you guys just said earlier, you guys have been doing this for
We have, but we've got a 4-step program that we've jumped into.
Okay.
That we're trying to really just push up. And we had Coach White come in the other day and did a 5-hour seminar, which was phenomenal. Even educating, again, putting in situations, having them stereotype, had them role play, which we have done before, but we took it even more extensively into what we were doing. Had a young man call in who had a bad situation that got caught, had never been in trouble in his life, and made one bad choice with a woman and cost him a couple years in jail. And he spoke to our team and how it can cost you. We have, we're doing, bringing in the Navy SEAL people, because they deal with a lot of those same kinds of issues. And we're going. Russell Wilson and I have become friends over the last couple of years, and we're talking mutually and different things. And he has the Pass the Peace initiative, which is bringing attention to national domestic violence. We'll be a part of that, and different things, keeping educating those programs and all things. But again, like I said, we've been doing things, and it's just like I say in a game plan. You do things, you try to prevent things, you have it out there, and then when they change, you keep adding to them. You know what I'm saying? And that's what we're trying to do, and continue to put those out there for our kids and give them the best possible chance to be successful.
And then what you were just talking about, was that totally about domestic violence?
Yes, totally about domestic violence. And we had them scheduled to come in August, and we have another speaker Bob Delaney, who's the vice president of the NBA, who has a program that we had scheduled to come in August too. So we tried to speed one of them up. We still have another one coming in, but we spend over 40 days a year on different varying things from drugs, alcohol, those things. But again, when you see that that's not enough, you continue to improve and expand what you have for your kids.
And then also on the front end, did these summer interests make you think, okay, are we doing taking the right approach in recruiting and recruiting the right character guys?
Oh yeah, I do, because DeAndre Johnson, was a 3.5 student, had never been in trouble in his life. You couldn't go out and find him more money. You saw him on Good Morning America with his mother. He was never raised that way. He was not coached that way. He was a good guy who made a bad choice. He made a poor decision, and it was very critical in a critical moment. And we all are about decisions in life. That's what life's about. Decisions you make in key situations. How to handle pressure. How to handle different situations. So I would recruit DeAndre Johnson over and over again because there was no indication anything was there. He made a poor choice, and we research and background our guys tremendously, and as much as we possibly can to find that. So I don't think we have. Again, I say this all the time. We are a very talented football team. I think we have better kids on our team than we have players. I say that, but we've had a few guys make a mistake.
Are you concerned about perception of your program outside of your own?
You're always worried about perception, but what you have to deal with is reality. And you have to consistently do things right. And if you want to change perception, you have a continual performance in the right way for long periods of time, and perception changes. And I don't think what's happened at Florida State is relative to Florida State. It's happening all over this country. We get more attention of it because of the success of our program, and I understand that. That's part of winning. That's part of being one of the top programs in America, and we accept that responsibility, and our players have to accept that responsibility. And because Florida State is a tremendous university, and we want to represent it the right way, and I think our kids do.
Jimbo,
But we have to continue to work on the problems we have.
I'm sorry. You said your player made a bad choice. He hit a woman. Isn't that kind of minimizing?
No, I'm not. I think it's a tremendously. But when you make a bad choice, there's minimal choices and there's maximum choices. He was dismissed from the football team. I think our punishment, it shows it was a majorly poor choice. I'm not minimizing anything he did at all. But he had never done anything wrong in his past. But he made one major mistake. So I'm not minimizing it at all. I'm not looking bad on it because there's no tolerance for hitting women. There's no tolerance for hitting women. I'm not minimizing that one bit.
Is it a concern that there have been multiple incidents?
Well, I can't comment on the other one until that case has run its course. And we'll see when that goes. Right now we know of one, and then we'll wait to the facts of the other, and I cannot speak on that because that's an ongoing investigation.
There have been a couple of others who've either been accused or kicked off the team in the past.
The instance we've had in the past, and that was another. We've had Jermon Fortson, which was not. We've had Greg Reed, which we've kicked significant players off our team. The first year I was there, Jermon Fortson was our best returning player. Greg Reed, that guy was a tremendously great player. Greg Dent, he had an issue with it, and Mouth is back in school at Valdosta right now. But he was our the national championship year. He was our best player. So addressing issues and taking care of discipline has not been Marcus Alegba. We're short at linebacker. Our best linebacker, probably been a first, second round draft pick, was dismissed a year ago. So from those issues about punishing guys, if the offenses are justified, then we definitely do it. No matter how good a player you are, what you are, and each instance is different, and I think each case is different. You have to wait and see the facts of everything that comes out.
As relative CEO of your program, how responsible and culpable do you feel that this is taking place under your watch? And
just like it is anywhere else in the country. I think you, as a head coach, you take responsibility. It is your responsibility, and you continue to educate, just like a parent does. You educate your kids as parents, and you hope they don't make mistakes. When they do, you punish, adjust, whatever you do, and you continue to educate so they don't do it again. And you try not to.
Not hitting a woman is such a basic.
I agree with you. You'd think you would never have to ever say that, but everything in culture in our society changes daily. Our world changes. Look at TV. Look at everything you see out there. Everything that goes on. So what you have to do is don't take. It's like coaching. What you learn, don't take anything for granted. Try to cover as many things from A to Z as you possibly can to educate. Don't do this. Don't do that. Don't do that. To make sure you address every issue out there. You wouldn't think you would have to say that, but you do. And we'll continue to do that, and we'll do it even in a greater force now to educate our guys about not doing it and how to avoid those situations totally. And hopefully they'll listen.
Jim, there was talk that you might have banned players from clubs or bars or anything like that. Is it?
We just told and that's the president said, we banned them from trying to put themselves in bad situations. You know what I mean? And again, it's like on a football field. If you don't put yourself in 3rd and 20, you move the ball. You know what I'm saying? So we try not to tell them where the hot spots are, where things happen, and it's a constant educational battle, and try to eliminate mistakes by not putting yourself in tough situations. And that was what we were trying to do. President Thrasher and I, we all agreed on what we were trying to do and educate our guys in those situations to avoid those places or areas, because that's where some of those things have occurred, and just the instances have occurred. Right now, as a team and as a group, we elected to keep ourselves out of those positions. They are not going, because they elected to, and we elected to educate them about that.
Has it been more difficult to enjoy the success the program's had the last few years because of instances like this, because of the constant scrutiny?
No, I don't. I think that goes with the territory, and that's what you guys. You're doing your job. You're recruiting. You're reporting on the programs that are out there in the forefront. I understand that, and it gets forced at that. I mean, it doesn't stop the enjoyment of the other 100 guys, 120 guys on your team that do things right. I mean, there's always instances that you have to deal with. Sometimes there are, sometimes there aren't. It hasn't that part, but it is disappointing that we have those issues, because, again, as a coach, you take responsibility. And all the guys that I've had to kick off, I look at myself and say, listen, I could not reach those guys. Why could I not reach those guys? And I look at that as myself and trying to always improve, because guys come from different backgrounds, different makeup. Just like what the story I tell today, not one of y'all will write it the same. You all interpret everything I say. Most of it will be different. Your take on the story and how it goes. Well, it's just like when you're educating kids, you got 100 kids. When you educate them, they all see it, or coming from a different background or different environment, they hear it in a different way. Just like I always say this, if you have 4 kids in the same family with the same parent, same grandparent, and mom and dad tells all 4 of them to do the exact same thing, very rarely do all 4 do exactly the same thing. And that's from the same parents. So my point is, you're constantly having to, I educate myself on trying to know each individual as much as I can to make sure he's getting the message in which we're trying to get across. Because everybody perceives and hears things in a different way. And it's everybody's own opinion. And that's life. And as a coach, that's one of the great challenges, is to make sure you educate to each individual, because each individual affects everybody on the team, just like when you coach them, but just like they do off the field. And I think that's something that I continue to do in programs and talk to sports psychologists, mental psychologists, people who deal with behavior issues, people from middle-class families, from rich families, from poor families, from, all the different of how they perceive the world. And we're all perceive the world from what we're brought up in, the households we're brought up in, and the influences we've had in our life. And I think as a coach, that's one of the great challenges you have, because you have a multiplicity of people and backgrounds that you have to constantly educate. And it's a great challenge, but it's one of the reasons I like coaching. I like trying to reach people.
Because domestic violence player conduct has been a national issue, has Florida State been unfairly?
No, I mean, you're judged on what you do. And we've had a couple instances, just like other people have too. And I can say it's not a Florida State problem, it's a national problem. It's not just an athletic problem. It's a domestic problem all across our country. And there's always issues across our country that are hot spots at that particular time that get the news. And we don't tolerate it, don't accept it. And when the facts show, and we dismissed DeAndre, we dismissed Greg Dent, those issues in which we've had. So, it is what it is. And we're in a world of that, and hopefully, again, like you say, we don't want our guys to ever touch any women or have any kind of domestic violence. That is our goal and our objective.
Your school president spoke to your players, which is pretty unusual. That doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, he does. He does. He's been in our locker room quite often. He comes after games quite often. He likes to show his support for our program. He's been in the locker room after 2 or 3 games and shown good support, and he's there. I love our president because he and I have a tremendous relationship, and it lets him. I like for that part of and he likes for that part of the university not to be separated, that we all are normal, and I think he does a tremendous job of communicating.
Did he also talk to you? Did he also say, Coach, what's going on here?
We talk all the time. We have open conversation, not just this. We talk during the season. We talk when things are good. We talk when things are bad. And when good, this is what's going on. When it's bad, these are an issue. This is an issue. How are you handling it? And I presented that 4-piece program in which we had and things in which we had coming up, and he was very explicit with it. And we're trying to expand on from our AD, from Stan Wilcox to him, different thoughts, because they're not my kids, they're our kids. the president, the AD, the head coach, they're all our kids. We're at Florida State have a responsibility, and I like their interaction. We have a great relationship, always have.
Jimbo, a couple coaches have said their rule is if you hit a woman, you're off the team. Obviously, not every school has
That's ours, because you've seen it. You've seen the two instances that have came about that were fact with Greg Dinn and DeAndre. So yes, I mean, and in each case and the circumstances of each case, you address and wait till the facts come out.
Jimbo, did you consider dismissing Galvin?
No, I wait till I make decisions based on facts of what goes on and wait till the case plays itself out.
I just want to clarify because I could have sworn that one of your players yesterday said there was no ban on going to bars or clubs. You were saying there definitely is.
There was one by all of us, our players and our coach. We talked about that, and they are saying they're not putting themselves in those positions. They're not doing it either. So it's a collective ban because we talk about how to solve it. Because I like to include them in. All right, I can be a dictator, just like your parents say, don't sneak out. How many of y'all ever snuck out? How many of y'all missed curfew? I mean, you know what I'm saying? What you got to get them to collectively understand is how this is done and the reason why we don't need to be in this place. And they collectively as a group said the same thing. We don't need to be there, we're not going there.
Is there only bars or are there other situations?
It's trying just to eliminate all those situations. Mainly the one we talked about was bars and clubs at late hours. That's when a lot of issues happen.
Jimbo, what was the players' response to that meeting? Did you have guys coming up to you after and say?
Very much so. The leadership of our team, what do we need to do? We have issues, coach, we're going to take care of it. We're going to make sure this happens. Very good. Very extremely positive in the way you want your team to react. Again, because I think we have a tremendously great group of guys on our team as a general consensus. And they want to make sure that they do not tarnish the legacy of what they bring to Florida State.
Will it be a relief when you guys finally get into camp and can just concentrate? Is it possible to just concentrate on football?
It's always you have to compartmentalize everything you do in life. You control what you control at the present moment. It's because that's going on and I'm doing this. That's not going to help me worry about it, why I have to do this. Then when that's over with, you address your issues and worry about things and take care of things when they're at the appropriate times. And I think that's part of also maturing. I think that's one thing our team has learned to do with being a high-profile team. I think you have to learn to do that as a coach, as a player, as a human being. I think in life, I mean, there's many human beings walking the earth that aren't athletes that have many things going on in life, that have jobs, have careers, have things going on. They have to compartmentalize, and handle things when they can handle things. Everybody has issues in life and problems. Life doesn't care. Life's not, it's merciless. Whether you're an athlete, whether you're a normal human being, whether you're an astronaut, whether you're a doctor, whether you're a lawyer, everybody has issues. And I think that's part of growing up and things that we try to educate our guys in the programs we have about compartmentalizing and educating and taking care of things. So if you're worried about one thing now, I don't make one problem 2 problems or 3 problems or 4 problems.
Should there be a national rule as far as player conduct? Or?
No, I don't think. I mean, each person has. We do. It's called our laws of our world. I mean, that's what the court system's there for. I mean, think about the court system. The punishments it has. There's various ways and shapes based off each case and each circumstance. And I think that's what makes our judicial system great. And I think that's very similar to what we have to. I mean, you have to understand each person, each situation, each case by the facts in which presented.
Just the idea that, and not speaking specifically about
you can't compartmentalize and say everything's the same. I mean, like you're saying national. You know what I'm saying? I think that would, if they would do that, they would do it in our judicial system.
I mean, like if you're dismissed from a program for hitting a girl or that kind of violence, should you be allowed at another NCAA institution?
That's up to that circumstance and situation. But I think it all depends on the offense that is there and how each institution perceives what it tolerates and what it will not tolerate. And I think that's been the case for years. But you'd hate to say. Now, I'm not saying about domestic violence, but if you say that, then is it because he got tickets? Is it because he got dismissed for this other reason? I'm not saying domestic violence or any other reason. I mean, people want to make mistakes, and there's very few of us probably sitting here looking at me that haven't made mistakes in their life and wish they could take back. I mean, and we all have second chances. Now, I'm not saying domestic violence. I think that's an extremely serious circumstance. I think that's each institution's own judgment and opinion. We all have to live by that.
And on that note, Commissioner Swafford said he spoke to Thrasher. Mm-hmm. Did you speak to him at all?
No, he just was very supportive of our decisions and our statements and how we have tried to handle things.
when you recruit, what is the line of delineation? Kids make mistakes in their background. Everybody in the country recruited DeAndre Johnson. Everybody in the country recruited Dalvin Cook.
Yeah.
What is the baseline for you?
Well, I
when
mean,
recruit?
you get into history of consistent performance of bad issues, felonies, major things. I mean, like our judicial system, there's not a true cut and dry. But when you get a guy into felonies and things like that, you can't cross that line. I mean, a misdemeanor based off what they say or how it was, but then also the circumstance that went with it. And is there a history of 4, 5, 6, 7 of those things? 2, 3, or 4 of those things? However many. Is there a history of consistent of performance, or is it a one-time isolated incident? You know what I'm saying? I mean, all those things have to be factors that go in, and you have to weigh it with your AD, your president, and the different people in which you want to bring in.
Does the way you weigh it change after kind of some of the recent things, or is it kind of still the same?
No, I think you have to make sure you don't want to go extremely knee-jerk one way or the other. I mean, we've had great balance, checks and balances in that regard, and we'll continue to do it, but we'll also evaluate those checks and balances and see if those guys have had continued performance or not, and then we'll reevaluate those things.
Is that evaluation process more on, can you do background checks, stuff like that?
You
or
can
is
to
it
a
just
certain
you're talking to
extent, but it's everything. It's everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's everything you can possibly do.
Jimbo, do you do formal criminal background checks on the guys you said you check into them?
At times, but we have, not always in the back, but you usually hear of those instances from people. People don't hide those things from you. You know what I'm saying?
Jimbo, with the way Dalvin's case, the timeline, do you go into the season assuming you might not get him for a month, 6 weeks?
You may not have him at all. I mean, I'm not, and I'm going with the guys which we have. You know what I'm saying? And the guys at that position,
guys,
right?
Jocks and
Yeah, I mean, they're hey, next guy up. I mean, as I keep saying that, I mean, about our players, you forget, if Pender doesn't turn his ankle at Syracuse, you may not have seen Dalvin. People forget that day Pender had almost 60 yards in a quarter, had 2 touchdowns, and had one unbelievable. And the run, he was about to make a 95-yard run when a guy, it was going to come out the gate, and the center, and the guy he was blocking fell, so he veered back, and actually Pender made a cut and broke and tore his ankle up. And that's when Dalvin came in the game. Pender was playing extremely well from that. But we have very good players as far as that goes. But Jacquez and Vickers and everybody else. I mean, those guys are all great players. So we always go as if, what if he turned his ankle? What if he blew his knee? And those are all things you always plan on as a coach.
How soon into camp? I'm sorry, Coach. How soon into camp do you want to see a separation at quarterback? I know you say it's a competition between Golson and McGuire.
Whenever it's there. Learn never to put. I've been in many quarterback battles. Many. I let things play out and let the performance, again, the facts of what they do, the performance of what they do, make that decision.
Jimbo, speaking of quarterbacks, Everett Golson, what have you? I know it's kind of early in, what are you hearing? How's he fitting in so far?
I think very good. I think he and the team have done a really good job of being very cohesive, from what I understand. I mean, he likes the players. He likes the guys here. He really gets along with them. I think the guys that I've spoken to have spoken very highly of him. And also, they've been bragging about Sean, how that competition's went very well. They've been extremely happy with Sean and how he's done things.
What has kind of been the reaction of having Everett?
JJ, all those guys.
What has he done to kind of get guys like JJ and Sean, having someone else there to kind of provide
worked his tail off. I think he's come in. I think the way you get it, I did this. You forget, I was a transfer. I came in as a transfer my senior year, like that. I had a lot of success at the program I had. And the way you do it, you go in and work your butt off, and you show them that you're one of them, and you're willing to do all the things you're willing to do, and you're willing to put in the work, and you're willing to be a teammate. And you learn to be a good guy. You learn to be cohesive and adapt to people. And people realize you work hard, you're here to help them win games. People will adapt to you.
I'm guessing you wouldn't have brought in Everett if you were already completely 100% sold on one of the guys already there at quarterback.
I was already 100% sold on Sean. I definitely was. But when you have an opportunity to bring in a very experienced guy who's led his team to a national championship, who led his team to a 6-0 start, and actually has a pick play from having success against us. I mean, the guy has had tremendous success, and you can add that to your team, and that amount of experience and that amount of talent, why would you not do it? It has nothing to do with being disappointed about the guys that were there. It had to do with adding to a group of guys that could also win you a game down the road, an opportunity. I was extremely pleased with Sean and bringing a young guy. I thought their development was going very well.
Coach, when Warchant's going scholarship, is some possibly guys in training camp could earn?
Nah, I mean, there possibly can, but we'll wait and see.
Coach, it doesn't happen often, but you weren't picked to win the ACC this year. How do you feel about that?
Same way I did when we were picked. We got to go play a season. We got to go play a regular season. We got to get better, address the issues of our team, and plan for long-term success. But we have to get better. We have to, and I don't ever. I mean, I love the O's are fun to talk about, but I don't. Whether you were picked to win it or second or third, It doesn't matter.
How comfortable are you right now with your offensive line? I mean, you got to fill a lot of holes.
I'm extremely excited about it coming out of spring. I was one of the areas in which we wanted to address, and I thought come out of spring practice, looking and saying, I can see this, I can see where this thing is going, what the future is. Now, we're probably deep. We haven't many guys start, but I think we're going to be very, very talented and probably as deep in positions and things as we've ever been.
Between all the guys that moved on to the pros and now maybe not having Galvin all year, now there's not a position on the offense that's not having a major personnel loss. So the offense as a whole, is that a big concern for you going into the year, or are you?
We have good players. I like where the spring is. I think I say this, we're extremely young, but we're extremely talented. I think we're as talented as we've ever been. And that's what I think, but the key is taking talented young players and turning them into very good football players. And again, I'm excited. I love this team, the way it competes, the way it had a chip on its shoulder, the way it listens, the way it's energetic to be the next guy up. I'm extremely excited about that. And I have concerns about our whole team. I had concerns about them last year, and I had concerns about them 2 years ago, and I have concerns every year. As a coach, you always do. Depth, issues, injuries, whatever happens. I mean, that's just what you do. But you're also, at the same time, very excited to watch young guys step into roles and grow. And I think that's one of the great things about college football is the constant turnover and getting to watch. It's just like watching a kid develop. It's like watching your child. Because you may think, is it the same? Because y'all have 3 kids. Are they all the same? They all have different personalities. They all have different attitudes. And that's with the same people growing. You know what I'm saying? Same church, same everything. As a team, one of the great things is to watch it take its own personality, take its own demeanor, take its own work ethic, take its own the chemistry in which it develops, its attitude in which it develops. It's just like watching a young kid grow. It's like watching a team. I think that's one of the great things about college football and excites me about being a college coach is watching these kids emerge in the different ways in which they emerge. And the talent's there, just watching them go.
What's the chip on their shoulders?
I think they're hungry because they have never done it. They haven't been out there and they want to prove that they can play with the legacy and the history of what we've been able to do in the last few years, and that they are the same level of player, they are the same caliber, and they feel a responsibility to play at that level and perform at that level.
Lorenzo Featherston got a taste last year. Do you see him as one of those 100 guys right now?
I definitely do. He's a guy that's very dynamic, very athletic, has great length, and had some injuries last year off and on that were there, but hopefully he can continue to grow. I'm very excited to watch Jacob Pugh, all those young DeMarcus Walker, all those guys just continue to go. Ricky Leonard.
A couple weeks away. You got a couple guys who are a little banged up. What's the injury status like? The 2 linebackers.
Reggie Northrop's ahead. I think he'll be in the first part of practice. We'll probably monitor and moderate things early with him, not to overwork him early and build him in, but I think he'll be there. Terrence is ready to go. I think Josh Sweat will be included into practice. Looks like very early in what's going on. I'm trying to think who else we had. We just had 4 or 5 guys. I just went over the injury report before I came here. Tyler Hunter should be ready to go. Hofield's getting back in that mix. Matthew, with that shoulder is going to be a while. I mean, that's total reconstruction at Bristow, and because you got to let it heal. Because if you hit on it again and then destroy that could be a while. His shoulders are very difficult, and that's just the surgery he had. But once they take, then they're great. And that's what you don't want to.
Is there no timetable on that?
No, it just got to be by feel and how each guy heals. You know what I mean? Just like knee surgery. Some guys come back from ACLs in 7 months. Some guys it takes 10 months. You know what I mean? Each guy's body and ability to heal is always different.
Josh Sweat could play early.
He could get into practice, yes, and be ready early in the season. Yes, he's got to get some conditioning back, and it's really starting to happen. But I think they said the other day in the workout they were saying he hit over 21 miles an hour running.
The learning curve for your offense and your playbook and all that. How much behind the 8 ball is Everett, or is it not going to be that big?
No, I don't anticipate that. I haven't had a chance to have specific meetings with it because we're not allowed. But he had very good background and knowledge coming in. Everett was a good guy in that. You know what I mean? And the guys out there saying he says he feels comfortable with the most part about where to go. Just got to continue to get used to all the guys, how they run the route or how they do things. But he says very comfortable. He says he's very comfortable with the assignments from what he's been doing and things he's done.
Apologize for hitting on something that you've already talked about, but what's Dalvin's status?
He's suspended.
And
I cannot comment on it. It's an ongoing investigation, and then when the case is over, all facts are concluded, we'll make a decision.
How difficult is it to prepare for a season not knowing if you're going to have a key guy like that?
It's just like an injury. That'd be no different if he blew a knee. I mean, we plan if he's not there. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's a totally different situation. But from that, but as far as you know, from a coaching standpoint, you're constantly always why you're always building the depth of your team and situations in your team for guys, the next guys up.
Would you like to tell me a little bit about the process of Golson and where that contact started for you? And then did that sort of finalize why you were in Myrtle Beach for the ACC ranking?
No, it was he had. I'm trying. It's been so long now. I have to go back and think about it. It was afterwards, after he graduated, or whatever, and called and said if we had interest. And I said yes, we would. And I thought about it for a day and talked to some guys on the team, and in a sense, and said yes, we would. And then he came down on a visit and got to meet him, and we talked about how he sees himself, what his goals, objectives are, where I see us, where I see our team, and how he could fit in. And we went from there. And then he made a decision.
And then at that point, I guess, do you start looking at all his tape from Notre Dame and go, okay, I can fix this guy's reception problem by doing this?
I didn't watch a lot of tape on him. I knew who he was and what he was. I mean, I watched a little bit, but not a lot. And I knew his performance and what he did, and he played against us. I'd studied him during the year. You know what I'm saying? I studied both sides of the ball, and I thought he would be a great addition to what we've already had on our football team.
Coach, you said you've been in a lot of quarterback battles, so how close to the opener to have that starter in play?
Whenever I'm not going to make that decision now. They'll make that decision. I won't. By their performance. I don't have a timetable. All sorts of
Do you
stuff.
see it possibly being a two-quarterback situation like you did?
I don't know. I'll let it play out. We'll see. I wish I had that answer. I wish I could answer both your questions. I really do. I mean, I wish I had all the answers, but that's unfortunate. It never works that way.
I want to ask you the kicker. How much, when you've got a reliable kicker like you do, how much does that impact maybe how you call it?
Oh, definitely. Once you know his range and where his consistent range is and how aggressive you can be and the kind of throws and the things you do, and it's huge in how you call plays. Huge in how you call plays.
How much comfort zone does
Oh, tremendously. It does. It does. I'd rather him kick PATs though, but it does. It gives you a great comfort zone.
Jimbo, you talked about you went through the same thing Everett went through when you went to Sanford your senior. What was that like, and what were some of the challenges? And were you worried about how teammates would respond?
Oh, most definitely you do. I mean, anytime you walk out into anybody new and you're trying to be part of a group, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I was an All-American quarterback transfer, and they had an All-American quarterback, a preseason All-American quarterback already there. And the ironic thing, we ended up being best friends and roommates.
Oh, really?
Yeah, one of the guys we lived with. It was ironic how, and he played DB and had an unbelievable year. Was a great player. I mean, tremendous player. But I just think you got to be people who lead, people who play those positions and do things. You genuinely what you are comes out. You know what I mean? And I think the key to it is being yourself and understanding and making sure the people on there understand your agendas of what you're there to do. You're there to be part of them and help them win and be part of a team. And I think once people understand that, they accept it and then take whatever you bring to the table and run with it. You know what I'm saying? Because they all want to be successful and win. And when it's not about me, it's about us, then they all accept you.
But at first, did you hesitate maybe on getting on one of your new teammates if they did something wrong? Was that something you had to worry about?
Well, in the summer, though, it's so much different. Early you kind of felt yourself into it. I think that role, you got to be careful, and the times after that you do that. But yes, I don't say you're careful, but I think it's human nature not to go into somewhere like that.
Right. So you said that QB moved to DB?
It was still a good friend. He's a great guy. He was a heck of a player, great player.
Jim, I've seen some stats where you guys blitzed a lot more last year than 2013 because obviously we had a front that year. Did you have to blitz too much of that, expose some things?
No, I think we're in tighter games. Think about the scores of the games. I mean, when you're trying to put pressure on people, we had such significant leads before. You don't want to doing that. Well, you're not doing it, but you don't want to pound that on it. You know what I mean? You don't call it when you're ahead. You know what I mean? And we were in a lot of tight ball games and tight situations and creating movement and disturbance in those situations. And there was a couple guys. I mean, Timmy Jernigan was so dominant a year ago. You lost Nile last year when you had some things. You know what I'm saying? I mean, so a lot of those different situations.
How how encouraged are you about the pass rush and the play up front? Just going.
I am. I'm looking forward to this front. I think that's going to be a key for us. I think getting our depth, getting our health, but getting more fast twitch guys on the edge. I think, and watching their development, I'm anxious to see that. That's going to be a critical part of where we got to go.
So speaking of the up front guys, Derek Nottie, what kind of progress has he made, and especially with the guys like Eddie that you lost, what kind of role?
Well, I mean, we'll see. I think Niall is really starting to emerge as a great team leader. Strength, power. He's really had a good summer in a team dynamic point, which he was always not. Head was there, but the other guys were there, so he's really stepped up. Derek Nottie, strength and conditioning now. I mean, he's doing well. Derek is really emerging. I think Derek's going to get better and better as a player as he goes because of his knowledge of the game. You know what I'm saying?
And as far as the secondary, why has Jalen developed to the extent that he has, and then I guess with his role this year, how could that blossom?
Jalen just develops because he loves football. Jalen's one of them. He's one of them old gym rats. He can't get enough of practice. He can't get enough of working out. He can't get enough of watching film. That guy's, I mean, every time you turn around, I thought he was one of my coaches. I mean, he's just up there in the office and going here and working, and he's running track, and then he's back. Then you'll see him running check. Yeah, but he's working out, doing his football workout, going to do. I mean, I just think the guy loves ball. He loves competition. He's the guy, you know, in practice. All right, my 2 reps are done. All of a sudden, somebody doesn't jump in there, and it's not his rep. He can't wait. He hopes somebody screws up, so he runs back out there to take 3 more reps. And I think he knows. He has a great future in the game. I think he understands the more he can learn, the better he can do from nickel to dime to playing corner to playing safety. I think he knows it enhances his ability as a player. And the thing about Jalen, you know, he loves to play ball. He loves everything about ball, the working out, the practice, you know what I mean, and just he's a gymmer. He's an old school gymmer.
How much of an impact can a new coordinator or position coach have in the first year? You guys, it seems like every year we make a big deal of, so and so got so and so as a new coordinator or some kind of the other, and you've had that a couple of years. What's the reasonable expectation for a first year guy?
Again, I don't think there is any. I think you coach what you coach and do what you do and let each situation dictate. I think it's all dictated by yourself, your players, and your relationship. And I don't think there is a set standard. I think every situation is different. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not as good. And just because, again, I think it's like players. Recruiting a great player. Just because he's not a great player as a freshman doesn't mean he won't be as a sophomore or junior. Just because he's great as a freshman, he has to continue that as a sophomore and junior. I mean, I think it's just like players, coach. Every year is 0-0. Every year is 0-0 as a coach. No matter what you've done in the past, you learn from your experiences. You have to go prove yourself again. You have to play again. You have to coach again. You have to prepare again. You have to put, am I putting the same amount of preparation time in? Am I putting the same amount? I mean, that's the standard. And then each year you take it with what you got.
Jimbo, I know the focus is obviously on Texas State right now to start the season, but you guys have a stretch where you'll have Miami, Louisville, and Georgia Tech.
Oh, yeah.
Can you just talk about that, especially with that being?
We'll spend time in camp on all those things. We do in the offseason, studying those teams, looking at those teams, issues they have. We'll spend time in camp at different times looking on things that have caused us problems in the past or things that we will, we do an extensive plan in the off season and use things during camp and different times to work on different teams and different circumstances. We'll work on all those, and those are all great teams.
Jimbo, entering your 6th year now, is there anything different now than there was in 2010 or anything that you've gleaned that maybe...
Yeah, you expect more. Y'all expect more now. No, I mean, you learn it. You hopefully learn every year as a coach. But again, like I say, what I was saying there before, it's 0-0 again. When the hunger and desire to prepare, just like, you know, one of the things I love about hearing Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, when I hear them talk, and I hear people talk about it, and they say, what's Tom? Tom's been up there for a month doing footwork. Well, you don't think he knows footwork by now? Yeah, but he's got to have it again. Peyton Manning. The offseason, you hear about the legendary, how much they throw, how much the guys got to be there, the timing. That has never changed for those guys. And I think as a coach, it's the same way. How you prepare for the season, all the details you have, what your organization is, and then what you are looking to improve on. And you know that, you know, hopefully this, you'll grow from this and learn from this and where the game is going and trying to foresee what the changes are. I think that's what the thing I've learned is, you know what you learn, and you know what you know, but you got to do what you do, and prepare like you need to prepare. And I think that's the key.
Your new class and all the guys have been on campus. The new group coming in.
Yes.
You have them all on campus. Is everybody now 100% qualified?
There's a couple guys trying to take a summer class, which you're allowed to do, that are finishing up. Now, from what I hear, they're in good shape. So we'll wait and see. But there's 2 guys presently taking the class, but we feel very confident in it.
When will you know that by?
It should be very quickly here in the next week or 2.
A lot of people have clamored about the graduate transfer rule.
because I'm not in favor. I'm in favor for it. Obviously with Golson here, what do you think about him having an opportunity to better himself? And
I think it's great because we've had two guys go do it ourselves. I mean, Clint Trickett left and went to West Virginia, and Jacobs at Alabama. Listen, these kids get 5 years to play. Sometimes it's the last 5 years they ever get to play in their life. If they fulfill their academic requirements to be able to transfer, that's the ultimate goal, is to graduate. And it may be their last time to ever play, or it may put them in position to play in the future. I don't see anything wrong with that because we've had it both ways. We've lost two excellent players to that, and which was depth, and possibly one could even be your starting quarterback this year if he hadn't left. So it works, and if kids elect to do that, I do not see it. It's a free. I mean, we're in this world of trying to make these kids' lives better. It's the last time they ever get to play. So I do not understand why that's a problem.
Did you ever have a conversation with Everett saying, "Hey, I was a transfer too"? This is something.
Once he got here, once we talked, and things we did. Yes, I did.
What was that like? What were some things you shared with him?
Just my experiences of acceptance, and I say, you have to be you. You have to. I can't do that for you. You have to make that adaptation. But he did it. Most guys like himself, and after meeting, I knew it would go very well. I think he's a genuine good person.
I don't know how much time you think about it, but have you figured out why you were the number 3 seed last year in the playoff? You're the only unbeaten team.
Good question. If you can find that out for me, let me know.
Yeah. Did the ACC not get enough credit last year?
I mean, I think you always have perception like that. For instance, you say that, but well, this league was this division's this. Well, what division in college football had the most players drafted? ACC Atlantic. No conference, no division in college football. So the perception, and the bad part is we find that out after the season. It's all perception going in, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I think, that is part of, but it's, again, you're looking at a committee who has a tough job. They have a very tough job to judge, and I think there's still a standard in which they're going to continue to learn of how they're doing it, what the criteria is, what the consistency is. I think we're all on new ground, you know what I'm saying? And I think until that, but again, when you're dealing with opinions of people, they're always going to differ. It's like I say here, I mean, the things I say will be written a little bit differently by each of you. That's the human nature of our world. Just like the guys, if you're all on a committee watching a team play or watching this team play, you're all going to have a different opinion of how that goes. And I don't think there is a perfect formula. I don't know of a perfect. There's never been a perfect formula for how that's been done in the history of sports. So, I mean, hopefully, but I think they're trying to do the best they can, and that's the thing about a playoff. If you get in, you have a chance to.
Jimbo, what do you like about Tyler Hunter possibly at the star position?
Well, he played it a couple years ago. I think he's very dynamic. He can run. He got ball skills. He's got good physicality. Can jam, and I think he can run and play on slot receivers. I think he's very physical, and has excellent change of direction and quickness in there. And we'll play him. We'll play Jalen can go back in there. Trey Marshall can go in there. I think we're going to train some of those. There's a couple of those young guys I want to train in there. I think the multiplicity of that, because you have to change multiple people in there, because this game is turned into a matchup game. It's like it's turned into basketball. I got you, you got me, and how you play it. And if they got a big slot, well, maybe you want to play Jalen in there. If you got a quick slot, maybe you want to play that guy. I think the more you can, the multiplicity of positions those guys can play in the secondary and have the ability to do it, I think only enhances your defense because of matchups.
Does that multiplicity apply to even guys in the front seven to a different extent?
Oh, no doubt. Inside backer, outside backer, put your hands. Can you be a guy, what? All right, team thinks you're a 3-4 team. All right, now you're a 4-3 team with the same personnel. That changes. That people don't understand. Or you're in a 4-3 team and you stem to a 3-4. And guys that can stand up and play on the end. That is a major difference in scheme. People don't think that's a big deal. It is schematically. And blocking schemes and things that go on. The multiplicity of those kinds of players. And you see it like the ends and the backers in the NFL. Those guys that are get down guys, rush guys, blitz guys, or can stand up and play in space. Man, they can't get enough of them.
How does being thin at linebacker, though, change the way?
I don't think it does. Because really when you're thin, we'll go in with 7 guys. And basically, because everybody plays 3 and 4 wide, you're in nickel 70% of the time. So if you got 7 players for 2 positions, you're still 3 deep in where you're at. So, I mean, I don't think that's as thin as you have. But, again, experience-wise and things like that, but you just got to keep developing.
So is this also a situation where you're looking at the depth chart, at least for the secondary, you're going to be moving those guys?
Oh, those guys are going to play in all kinds of different positions.
That's basically just penciling.
That's where they'll start and where they'll go. Yes.
You talked a bit about the young guys in the secondary, the Derwins of the world and such.
Just talk a little bit more about them, what you expect of them, what they've shown from what
and what I'm hoping, you saw the flashes in the spring. You saw why we recruited them. You saw their hunger, their athleticism. Now, what I did see was an ability to learn and perform on a big stage. That was the one thing coming out of the spring game, with so many young guys playing so well. You wonder, okay, there's 30,000 people in the stands. How are they going to act? You know what I'm saying? This is what they're going to do. Can they go out there and perform on the field? You know what I'm saying? And that was one of the things I was very excited about, that they didn't. The pressure didn't bother them. You know what I'm saying? Now, can they carry it? Now, I've also seen guys play good in spring and not carry it to the fall. But any summer indications from what I'm hearing, I think will only get better. And hopefully that'll provide depth and be able to be the players they want to be.
And you feel good about Tavares and Marcus also being...
From what I'm hearing, again, I haven't been with them up. They say they're training very well, and our guys... You want tell you what, it's like, you want to know who can play? Ask the players. Because I'm going to tell you what, when you went to the park and you played, I always say this. I always ask our team this. You're at the park, who's on your team? You know why? Because you're at the park, you don't pick your buddy. Because you know if you get beat, like on the old courts we used to go to, you got beat, you went and sat for about an hour and a half. You didn't get to play no more. So I know I love you, but you ain't playing on my team, partner. You go out tonight. We'll have a good time tonight. You know what I mean? And yeah, I'll take an hour. I'll take an hour. You know what I'm saying? But I'm saying, you know, and when you hear it from the players about these young guys, that's what's got me. A lot of our, you know, older guys, they're hard to give credit. I mean, they didn't want those guys there, but you know, when those real good players come up and tap you on the guys, Coach, that guy's pretty good. That guy's pretty good. What do you got? I mean, you got to go out there and coach them. They got to apply it, but you know they have the ability to be one of those types of guys. And I'm hearing that a lot from our older guys.
Jalen said those two guys remind him of him in terms of the hunger. What does that say if a guy like Jalen says?
Jalen don't give anybody credit. I'm telling you now, he's hardcore. He's like Jameis was. He's like Telvin was. He's like Joyner was. Those guys, you had to earn. You know what I mean? And it kind of shocked me, to be honest with you. I said, "Is that you?" He said, "Kenny Gargrin." Yeah, I said, "You giving somebody credit? God Almighty!" I mean, but I don't mean that from a bad way, but because he's always teaching those guys, but because he wants them to a standard of where he's at. You know what I'm saying, about how to perform and how to carry yourself. But you know, it caught my eye. I know that got my attention.
Jimbo, LaMarcus Brutus has been there 4 years. He's played a lot, never been a starter. Now you get him as listed.
I'm gonna tell you what. There's the epitome of the way ball used to be in the 80s and 90s, where guys often came in, developed, got better. All right, his redshirt sophomore year, he's playing for special teams. His junior year, all of a sudden, he's either starting or he made 3 or 4 big interceptions last year. A couple of them played in a lot of significant time. This guy just gets better and better and better. Then you got an experienced guy, an older guy who gets it, and all of a sudden he's playing really good football. Is he maybe the fastest guy in the world or biggest guy? No, but this guy can play. And it's kind of the old school way of things were done back in the 80s and 90s. You know what I mean? Because players now, that doesn't happen as much because guys get frustrated and transfer and all that. This is one of the great stories, in my opinion, about what he's done and how he's done it. I'm extremely happy for him and watching him work, watching him not get disgusted, not get discouraged, keep working, getting to be better. And as a significant member of our football team, as a player and as a leader, I'm extremely happy for him because it's the old school way of doing things. You know, it's just like when people ask me, you know, I get that, well, do you think Charlie was better than Jameis, or Jameis was better than Charlie, or Chris? I said, I don't know. I mean, I never coached. They're all great in their own. I don't think you can compare players, but I said, think about this. When Jameis played, he's leaving. That's when Charlie was just getting on the field. And I'm not taking that about you, but that's the way old school way of things were done, and kids were much more mature and in better situations to handle and cope with all the things because they were older and more mature and been through all the silliness, and you didn't know about it because you didn't have social media, you didn't care because they weren't playing. So I mean, it's the old school way of doing it. But LaMarcus is a great example of a guy who just, and I'm extremely happy for him. I think we'll have a tremendous, he had a great summer. I think we'll have a great year. I'm very happy for him.
Jonathan Vickers, what kind of player is he evolving to, and how do you kind of
very good player. Jonathan, as he's learning now to be consistent and do things, which all young players do, have their ups and downs, but there's a tremendous talent level there, tremendous skill level there, tremendous size, speed, intelligence. I think the guy could be one heck of a football player. I've said that from day one.
Do you see him being able to play running back or fullback?
He can do anything. When he makes his mind up to do it, he can do anything he wants to do.
He's a good receiving back too.
Excellent hands, excellent ball skills, excellent ball skills. Can do everything. He can do everything a back needs to be done.
You look at this freshman class in terms of athletically, because I've seen some of the early speed results. How does this stack up? I know they don't play.
You know, I'm gonna wait and see, but it's up there. It's really up there. This is a really, really good, and I mean, very intelligent, very good students. Academically, they knock they knock the bottom out of it in academics when they come in. Excellent students, excellent people, smart. You know what I mean? Real good. I mean, and then athletically very good.
Some of the guys on the speed test results you get a little bit. It usually takes them a little while to kind of learn how to do that, kind of surprise you right off the bat.
You know, some people say that. I mean, I always say, if you're fast, you're fast. If you're not fast, you're not fast. You improve, you get better, but if you're fast, you're fast. You know what I mean? A guy needs to stretch, he needs to learn. I say, you know what I said? I ain't never seen a deer stretch. Every deer I ever seen, that sucker stands out there and he's quicker than you walk up to him, they're going at 100 miles an hour and jump a 10-foot fence and going. Those fast guys, I mean, they're fast. They're young, they're fast, they're old. But I tell you what, this separation of this group, to me, it's the way they come in the spring, and what I'm hearing in the difference is there's a maturity level and a work ethic level that is a little bit rare for young guys at this stage. You know, I mean, a lot of guys come in creeping, trying to, which doesn't make them bad. This group is a much more confident group, and kind of just taking the bull by the horns at an early age and performed and practiced. You know what I'm saying?
It seems to be that way more and more every year. They come more prepared.
Well, I think they're getting, because here, all right, when you used to go to college, most of the time you had never been out of your neighborhood. Guys hadn't been all over the world. They hadn't been. You went to a couple local tournaments, and if you're lucky, you got to a state tournament in any sport or any. And if in a football game, you might have traveled 2 hours away from where you're from. You never knew anybody. I mean, your world, and there was no internet to tell you all this stuff. You never knew what the heck was out there. You never. Now, these kids, I mean, they're on travel teams. They're on travel baseball teams. They're on 7-on-7 teams. They're on AAU basketball. They're traveling from California to New York from their 10, 11, 12, 13 years old. So their ability to adapt and know what's out there in the world, so leaving home, going to stay on the road for 2 weeks, going to, you know what I mean, when these teams they travel on, 7-on-7, you know, high school teams now playing teams in California from Florida or Texas and New York, and I mean, our world has become so global and done it at and then, you know, they talk to each other. When you went in too, also you went in scared because you didn't know who was on your team. You never knew the guy. Well, they've been in camp with these guys. They've been in, you know, all these competitions with these guys. They've talked to them on the internet. They've talked to them on, so they feel like, hey, so I think it only enhances their ability to feel comfortable in the environment. So they come in, and then our bodies are maturing quicker. We're working out. We're developing guys. They're ready to play. You know, and I said this. It's a study. And we did this study. Puberty is happening in kids now from 25 years ago, almost 2 years earlier. Now, manhood and maturity is happening 5 years later. And I think that's some of the issues you have with making poor decisions about things. And I think you see it from people getting married later. You know, it used to be you're 19, 20, 21 years old. Most people were married, started having kids. Now, kids don't even think about getting married. Do you win? 25, 26, 27 years old. I mean, the world's changed. So what I'm saying is their worldly values and how they interact, the people they go and the things they do, I think is so much greater than it ever was years ago. It's only pushing up the timetable, which is good, but at times it's scary because they're getting, like I said, the old great players didn't play till they were juniors. Now the pressures of performing well, the pressures of, you know, being a five-star guy, and, you know, the media and the social media and the I say, for example, the Warchants of the world, people talking about, well, he ain't doing this, he ain't doing that, he made a mistake, he's not performing like I thought, this guy's a bust, he's a sophomore. Most of those guys before, he never had, so they're dealing with so many other issues. It's good in some regards, but I think it's detrimental in other regards too, and I think that's, as a coach, that's one of the challenges we have to get these kids to learn how to cope and handle all that, and that's why we have so many exterior programs to help these kids evolve and develop, and then the pressure on them today is 10, 20, 30, 40 times greater than it ever was before because of the scrutiny, which what makes it good makes it tough. So I think those are all challenges we're constantly having to fight with these kids to make sure they do the right things all the time. And I think those are the challenges as a coach and as an administrator, as a president, as, you know, whatever, as a parent, that you're fighting daily. I mean, it's a whole different world than it ever was. And it's changed in the last 10 years. It's changed drastically. I mean to go on that, but it's kind of a lead into what you're saying. You're performing well, but it's also the expectations go up. Then the power goes up. That's why we have so many mental conditioning coaches, psychologists, people, and then not with kids even have problems, but just to prevent, all right, this is going to happen to you. This is what you need to think. This is how you got to handle these situations. Well, that's why we've had all these preventive programs, and we're constantly, that's why booster funds, money is so important to program. It's not what you see externally as far as facilities. It's what you're able to provide these kids and support in the background, and that's the key to development of these kids.
Jimbo, Nick made the comments about the NFL draft, when the evaluations come out, and Commissioner Swafford yesterday said he'd like to see some changes as well. Do you have any thoughts on
I do.
all that?
You know what's funny? It's been going on in baseball forever. When's the draft? Right in the middle of either your Super Regional or the World Series. Think about that. I mean, because I follow the baseball, they've been dealing with this thing for years and years and years. But I do agree. But I think there is some issues that have to go there. Well, you say do it earlier. I don't know if you do it earlier, but do you do it later? But then, how do we know who to recruit? So you got a double-edged sword on that thing now. The more and right now we're going up to January 10th or 11th, right? All right, now if they don't find out they're 16, 17, 18, then they're going to make a decision a week later than that. Well, we've already offered scholarships. How do we know who to recruit? There's a double-edged sword on the backside of that that's very tough to see too. But I do understand, where I deal with as much as they do. Guys right in the middle of that Christmas break, you're usually getting those evaluations back and who he is, what he is. I just think it's another issue of coaching that we have to address, and it's another, people don't think of that, but it is. Guy going depression, man, I was planning on coming out. I was saying I'm a 4th-round pick. Well, his agent's telling me I'm a 1st-round pick. Now, who do I believe? But I'm preparing for a game. But those are challenges we all face. We've all faced forever. Those are, do they need change? I think something needs to be done. But also, if you change it back, you're also affecting recruiting and how you, all right, so if I got 20 guys recruited and all of a sudden 3 guys come back I didn't think were coming back, then I walk out there and say, you 3 guys don't have a scholarship now. Now, how's that going to come? I ain't giving you a scholarship. but how do you adjust that part of it? Because how do you know who to, and recruiting now is done so early. You know what I'm saying? That's that is a huge challenge on that timetable. I know they move the draft back. You say move your decisions back, but also, what about who you're signing? Is that fair? This kid's been saying he's coming for 2 months. You walk in and say, hey, Steve's coming back. I don't have a spot. Those decisions, that is the reality of what's going to happen. So from that standpoint, I think all those, but I do agree it's a tough time, but we're all dealing with it. I deal with it as much as they do. You know what I'm saying? But it is. Or a guy becomes a 1st-round pick, and all of a sudden that guy's saying, how hard do you really want to play? It's not me, and that kid does, but then here's that agent. Or a family member, or whoever, you know what I'm saying? Because you say, well, that's selfish. It is. But when you've grown up with nothing your whole life, and all of a sudden you have a chance at $25 million and changed your life, your kid's life, because I always think, just like I was watching that 30 for 30 the other day, Melvin Bratton, national championship game. Remember? Huh? Guy was going to be a 1st-round pick. Now, I think injuries today are much greater because of our medical stats are different. But but those are circumstances we've dealt with forever and ever and ever. But I agree with Nick. They are superly challenging. I think each year, the effect of it is, depending on how many upperclassmen, it can be more or less. You know what I mean? It's been a lot for us the last couple. Those have been huge challenges for us. But I don't know the answer to it. I think there are some changes that need to be made, but I think before we say and push it back, just remember that if I come back now because those guys come back, and I got to tell you, then everybody's going to say, well, that coach is wrong. He's a bad guy. How do you handle that? I would like for one of y'all tell me. I don't have the answer for it. Those are always challenges of everything.
What do you remember about your time as a Clemson student? Did you ever wonder what would have been different had you stayed there?
Nah, life happens. You take it what you do. It was a great time. I enjoyed my time there. It was a great school. Fun. You know what I mean? You got out of high school. Again, there's an example of myself. Small town country boy, coming there. Got a lot of work to do, have to practice. It's hard. Never been away from home. Those are all circumstances. I transferred and left. Does that make me a bad guy? You know what I mean? It turned out pretty good. You know what I mean? People in life, we all are where we're from. It's just tough. But I remember that I enjoyed it. I thought it was a tremendous university, tremendous place. Coaches were great. Teams were great. It was a great experience.
One more question.
It didn't turn out great.
Going back,
I'm having fun.
Going back to Golson real quick. Obviously, Notre Dame does a lot of things differently from what you guys do offensively out there. there's some things that are going to be common between offenses and so on. And a guy who's had 4 years of experience has a lot to call on. What are some of the things that you think are going to be the most difficult things for him to adjust to in the way that you do things?
From our talking, he has a very good knowledge and background of protection and understanding scheme and how to attack, and then coverages and things. And I think just our terminology of from what I can see, the ability to have a more multiplicity of decisions. You know what I mean, and where we go. But also, each year, each quarterback, I've allowed different restraints on. I've coached guys, called different plays, done different things, and also limited what they are capable of doing based on what they can do. And then those things, until I get to coach Everett on the field and see how he processes, that will be, that'll be the quick discussion. And I think that'll be the big thing. How much multiplicity of the decision making and the vast, not the play will change, but what you allow him to do for what reasons. You know what I'm saying? But he may have a law, may have not. I won't know that till you're able to coach him.
Jimbo, I just wanted to follow up real quick about if a player hits a woman, he's dismissed from the team. That's always been your rule since.
Yeah, I mean, we don't. I mean, each circumstance of what goes on and how it goes on, but each circumstance, if it's proved like DeAndre did or anything, that it's definitely domestic violence.
You wait for the case.
Yes, wait for the case. You judge each case, but if there's definite domestic violence, we've always taken a strong stand on that. We don't, just like Steve said, we don't tolerate that. Won't tolerate it.
We've had several facility upgrades in the last couple of years and more on the way. I know that's not the end-all, be-all, but just to be able to keep pace and have everything be fresh and new going in there for the guys.
I think it is, and I think it also tells your kids the commitment you have to them, about allowing them to have the things necessary. And I think because you want commitment from them, but you have to give it back, and vice versa, because it's a two-edged sword, knowing that they're doing everything they can do to make us the best we can be in all phases of life. And I think that's very cool.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Coach.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Coach.
You're welcome.
No peanuts and Coke today?